Chapter 30, The Shadow That Returns. The clock read 11 at night when Jiho locked the cafe. He wasn't tired in any physical sense. There was something else, a weight in his chest that stopped short of pain. Since the call he hadn't answered a week ago, since his father's name had surfaced on his screen, he felt as though a door that had been sealed for years had begun, slowly, to rattle. He pocketed the keys and climbed the stairwell. He should have continued to his apartment on the 7th floor, but his feet slowed at the landing of the 2nd. A thin seam of light ran beneath the door. Nora was still awake. He hesitated, then knocked lightly. She opened it within seconds. She wasn't wearing her coat, only a simple gray sweater and black trousers. Her prosthetic arm was unattached, leaving the left sleeve faintly hollow. Her hair fell loose over her shoulders, unbound in the way it rarely was during the day. "You're late," she said. The words held no reproach. "I know. I couldn't sleep." She studied him. The shadows beneath his eyes were deeper than usual. His posture had shifted, less rigid, as though the architecture holding him upright had quietly changed. "Come in." He sat in the chair near the window. From there he could see the rooftop of the adjacent building. Cloud the gray cat, the one Leyen had named, sat motionless in the dark, her eyes catching the faint lunar light. "I need to ask you something," he said, without looking at her. Nora sat across from him. Without being asked, she placed a glass of water in front of him. "Ask. When you left your country, when you lost everything, how did you know who you were without the things that used to define you?" A long silence. Nora looked at her left hand, then at the space where her right hand had once been. "I didn't. I still don't, entirely. But you're standing, fighting, building. Because I stopped needing all the answers before I could begin. I only needed to know one thing, who I was doing it for." He looked at her. "Adam and Leyen. Yes, they were my answer when I had nothing else." Silence. Then quietly, "I don't have that. You have the calf. The calf isn't an answer, it's an escape. Escape isn't always the wrong thing. Sometimes it's the only way to stay alive long enough to find a real answer." He looked at the glass of water. He didn't drink, he only looked. "My father called. Last week, I didn't answer. Why are you telling me this now?" "Because he called again today." Nora raised one eyebrow, the smallest, most genuine expression of curiosity she'd shown in a long time. "What does he want?" "I don't know, but he never calls without a reason." "And you're afraid of the reason?" "I'm not afraid." He said it quickly, then stopped. "Maybe not afraid of him, afraid of what he might do." "Like what?" He looked at the window. Cloud dropped from the rooftop and vanished into the dark. "Destroying what I've built, not because he wants something, just because he can." Nora said nothing. She stood, went to the kitchen, and returned with something, a small envelope. She opened it on the table between them. Inside was a photograph. Old, its corner torn. A family, a younger Nora, her parents, a small boy who was Adam, a baby girl held in her mother's arms. "This was my family. All of them died in the explosion. Only Adam and Leyen survived." Jiho was still. He looked at the photograph. "Do you know what my father said to me just before I fled the house?" Nora's voice was very quiet. "He said, 'You are the reason for everything. If you hadn't been born, we would have left before the explosion.'" Jiho froze. "Did you believe him?" "For years, until I understood that cruelty isn't truth. It's only cruelty. It hurts, but it doesn't measure your worth." She set the photograph on the table between them. "I don't know what your father wants, but I know one thing, you are not what he says you are what you do. And what you're doing now, building something from nothing, that isn't failure. That's the only success that's real." Jiho looked at her. In her amber eyes he found no pity. He found something else, something he couldn't name. "Thank you," he said finally. "Don't thank me, just sleep tonight. Tomorrow will be a different day." He stood, moved toward the door. At the threshold he stopped. "Nora, yes, you are not the cause of anything bad. Not ever." She closed the door behind him, stood for a moment without moving. Then she whispered to herself, "I know. but she was not entirely certain. The next morning, Dongwook was the first to notice the change in Jiho. Not in his clothes, he still wore the same black jacket, the same delivery bag on his back, but in his eyes. Something was different, less cold, more present. "What happened?" Dongwook asked, setting down his breakfast bag. "Nothing." "You're lying, your face says something." "My face doesn't say anything." "Your face is more honest than your mouth, you know that." Jiho sat, took a piece of gimbap from the bag, ate in silence. "My father called," he said at last. Dongwook stopped chewing. "What does he want?" "I don't know yet, but I will soon." "How?" "Because he won't stop, that's my father. When he wants something, he doesn't let it go until he has it." "And what does he want from you?" Jiho looked at the window. The 3rd floor of the hospital was on his delivery schedule today. Layan would be waiting there. "I don't know yet, but I'm afraid it's the one thing I can't give him, myself."